The story of how World War I began has been told 1,000 times. Austria-Hungary was so outraged by the Archduke's assassination, they invaded Serbia, and within weeks... But I wonder if there's another story hidden between the lines, you know? Maybe another way of looking at all this. Peel back the layers, and we see the assassination was a random accident more than anything else. And take a look at this. This is the Archduke's funeral just a few days later. He's the heir to the Austrian throne, okay? And hardly anyone's turned up. The whole thing lasted less than 15 minutes. Read into it and you realise that no one really had much love for this guy at all, even in his own country. So why start a world war over him? The first thing you notice is that a year before the war even began, military spending across Europe was already in overdrive. Hundreds of millions of dollars in today's money. And when you spend this much on your armies and your navies, can you ever justify not using them? To make it worse, there were high tensions between every country. You could feel this overbearing heat all over Europe. And so strangely, people started wanting a war. That was the idea everywhere, one person wrote at the time, that war would clear the air. I'd love to say there was a good reason for all this, but as too often in history, it comes down to boys and their toys. In particular, Britain and its boats. In 1906, they raised the stakes by launching one of these. It's called a dreadnought, and it was the most advanced battleship in the world. Germany responded to this by building 5 of them. And so Britain commissioned 4 more, and this shipbuilding race began. At one point, Britain was churning out a new one of these every 6 weeks. The British were pig-headed and determined to stay on top, sure, but keep going back and you see it was Germany who actually started it when almost out of nowhere they began building dozens of ships. And so for years, these tensions grew, suspicion spread, allies became enemies, and the rulers of Europe grew apart. Which is weird, really, when you discover most of them were actually related. Within 20 years of this family photograph, almost everyone in it will be at war with someone standing nearby. This was a world war, but keep going back, and it starts to get a bit personal. This was how Kaiser Wilhelm II wanted the world to see him. And this was how they actually saw him. Do you notice how he's always trying to cover up his left hand? It had been deformed since birth, and it was, it turns out, the source of some serious hang-ups. He was convinced nobody respected him, especially in the one place he wanted it most. "Why is it I'm not popular in England?" he asked a diplomat. "What can I do to make myself popular?" It's funny really, Germany the country was actually doing pretty well. It had growth and prosperity, but to him, none of that mattered. And then Wilhelm made a plan. He would get his respect, one way or another. "All the long years of my reign, my colleagues, the monarchs of Europe, have paid no attention to what I have to say. Soon, with my great navy to endorse my words, they will be more respectful." The story of how this strange and horrible war began has been told 1,000 times. But is there another story hidden between the lines? Because there's still one more thing that doesn't make sense about all this. For all those battleships, for the naval race and all that, Germany's coastline isn't even that big. France and Russia were way more of a threat than anything seaborne, and Wilhelm knew it. So what was this guy's obsession with the sea all about? Why risk everything to build a navy you don't even need? And so here's our final stop, and this is one of those strange times when the answer isn't in the history books, because it is a history book. It was written by this guy, a retired captain in the US Navy actually, and it's a book with a single idea, that if you want to be a big and powerful country, You've got to have a big and powerful navy. From the Romans to Napoleon, he said, history proves that ships equal success. Mayen's idea struck a chord all over the world, from Russia to Japan. But one person loved this book more than anyone else. I am now not reading but devouring Captain Mayen's book. I am trying to learn it off by heart. It is on board each of my ships and is constantly quoted by my officers. It's funny, isn't it, how sometimes our ideas can make connections we don't intend? And how easily insecurities can become pressure cookers. Until it's so suffocatingly hot, you just want something, anything to break the heat.